entertainingly. I hadn't noticed how much this looks like Slave 1. I want to finish these Robotec helmets. To do that, you need stands. I printed a bunch of stuff, set up a bunch of things. This should be relatively quick and straightforward. I'm going to need to do lenses, put the stands together. That's it, it should be done. I've got some plans for the Rick Hunter one, but I need to get this done. But I'm procrastinating long enough. Pull you in so you can see what the stands look like. I'm pretty happy with those. So the Rick Hunter helmet is undergoing a little bit of touch-up. But to give you an idea of what the lenses look like, super happy with that. It's going to be a display piece. But right now we need to focus on the stands. And the stands, I don't know if you remember this guy, but I took this, the collar piece, flattened it, scaled it to the helmet, and printed it out. And these pieces are just massive, right? I think the whole thing is like, let's see, 13 by 17. It's huge. But I think it's going to look amazing. So the first thing we need to do is glue all of these pieces together. And for that, since I have these huge wide areas, I'm just going to put some CA glue down. Easiest way to deal with it. A little bit of CA glue, a little bit of accelerator, and that's it, right? I may sand them a little bit because there's just a hair of elephant's foot. Just going to use some CA glue, a little bit of accelerator. CA glue on one side, accelerator on the other. Let's stick them together and see what happens. Smart thing to do would have been to grab some clamps. And now we wait. Shouldn't have to wait too terribly long. Alright, same thing to the front. A little bit of glue, a little bit of accelerant. The smart thing to do would be to grab some clamps. Didn't I just say that? And now we let it sit for about 10 minutes. Then I'm going to glue the two halves together. You don't need to see that, it's just gluing. I don't even know why you're still here. That needs to dry. I'm going to give that a decent amount of time, and then we're going to sand the whole thing. And then we put the hooks on. Not this hook, because this hook was huge. Because for some reason it's scaled up in my model. And not these hooks. Because these hooks bring it too far forward, or too far back. I need to bring it forward some. So, hooks we're putting now, or the hooks we're going to put in. But, we can finish the base until then. I'm going to sand everything. Like I said, I may dump in a bunch of glue along here, along the seam, just to let it seep in and then leave it be. I may leave it overnight. Of course, you know, that should give me enough time to finish the helmet. Get the project all set up. Kim's like, oh, when are you going to finish the helmet? I'm like, what? When are you going to redo the helmet? I mean, it's got, and she just starts listing off everything that was wrong with it. And I'm like, now I guess. And now, that means I have a helmet that's drying. But, it is what it is. I'd rather it be good than fast. Got a couple of big gaps all along here, which we are going to glazing putty. I'm just going to go over all of the seams real quick, just because there's a little bit of gaps here and there. And that should be all the major holes. Last thing I'm going to do tonight before I call it a night is go over the entire thing with acetone glazing putty. Now that I've had time to get my hands on it, I think it needs it. I think it'll make the rest of this process much easier. Acetone. Glazing putty. a brush, and a cup. Some of you know where this is about to go. I'm going to pour some acetone into this cup. I'm going to put some glazing putty in the cup. I'm going to mix them up. I'm going to coat the whole thing. Then I'm going to walk away, because this is unbelievably potent. I have all kinds of doors open, and there is a fan. I don't know if you can hear the fan. I don't know if you can hear me over the fan, but there's definitely a fan. Just a splash, just enough to loosen it up. Then repeat till we're done. I'm going to stop talking in a second because I'm about to put a respirator on. Even with the door open, the fan's going, this stuff is brutal enough. I'm going to put a respirator on. Now that it's had plenty of time to dry, sanding block to 220. We'll see you in a minute. This is 2 layers of sander primer, sandable primer. Most of it looks pretty good. I've got some wrinkling along here and around the front. Had I sanded it first a little more, that would have gone away. And if I had changed the orientation of the print, that wouldn't be a problem either. But I don't quite trust my printer at the moment, and I thought a flat print would be better than a tall print. So it's the price you got to pay. So I'm probably going to lightly sand this a little more. I may come in with a little more body filler just to smooth everything out. And then more primer, more sanding, more primer, more sanding. You know how it goes. Helmet stand is fully printed. Hooks about where I want them to be. They're getting a light coating of glazing putty and then a flat black enamel. That's it. I want these to blend in to, you know, completely blend away. I still got a little bit of texture here, so I'm probably going to go over everything one more time with a little straight glazing putty and see where we're at. Same with the edges here, but this has to go to paint tonight if I'm going to get it done in time for the thing I want to get it done for. But until then, everything's getting glazing putty basically, and then these are getting primed and painted. And this is getting primed again. So that's where we're at. Now we wait, we sand, and we primer. It is coming along. I'm pretty happy with it too. Wrong helmet. But, you know, it is what it is. So, yeah, that's where we're at. So everything's been sanded to a point that I'm okay with it. Is it perfect? No. Will it ever be perfect? Again, no. As the artist who made it, I will always see the flaws in it. But, you know, it is what it is. Next step is to dust everything off and hit it with some primer. These are getting painted black so they blend in with the helmet. This is getting a regular primer, and then I'm going to paint it with a enamel white. Should look good. Okay, this is an interesting situation. We have 2 different paint problems going on, right? I don't know if you can see it, but there's this kind of like wrinkly bit here. That's caused from too thick of paint. Let me see if I can get you a better, let's see if we can zoom and see any of it. I might be picking that up. But what happens is I put too thick of a layer of paint down here, and the top layer dried before the bottom did. When the bottom shrank just a little bit when it dried, it causes these little wrinkles everywhere, right? My mistake. The only way to fix this is to give it a light sanding and give it a very light dusting of the white enamel I'm using. The other thing we got going on, I don't know if you're going to catch any of this. This texture is horrible. There's cracks all inside about 3 layers under this one. Because in my infinite wisdom, I was like, let's just put a little more paint on, try and fill it in. And you can really, oh, you can't even see that here. You can really see that right about here. It's got kind of a crack inside of it. And that's from the bottom layer not being dry enough before I put another layer on top. I could sand this all the way down, and that would absolutely fix the problem. Instead, for this part, we're going to lay some foam in there. Because this is going to go on top, and putting foam here will complement the black hooks. I'm not going to call it a happy accident. I'm just going to say it's a survivable accident. But this stuff all gets lightly sanded. My original plan for the visor was to get a piece of acrylic, heat it to this shape, and it's lightly heated so it slowly bends, maybe over a bucket, and then use this, or this, no, use my, the same stuff we used on the red of the helmet, I have in blue. I was going to do this, which is horrible to see through, by the way. And I realize that I am overcomplicating the situation. This is a simple process. It's just a prop. It's not a helmet that's wearable. It can be wearable, but you don't need to wear it. This is a display piece. So we're going to cover this in this. So the whole visor is going to get a light coating of glazing putty. It's going to get sanded. Then we're going to hit it with the silver primer and then the blue metallic overtone. And that should give us a mirrored blue finish, which will look amazing on the helmet. Don't need to overcomplicate this thing. It's just a statue. It's still wet. I'm not going to manhandle it any. But I think it's good enough because this area hasn't been touched that we can glue these in place. They're very tight fit as it is. Probably don't need a lot of this. I'm not going to manhandle it. I'm not going to push it around. I'm just going to easily push it or gently put it in. That's good. Okay. I'll just leave that right there. So this doesn't need a lot of glue. Because these pieces do fit very well. Make sure the tip's lined up. Alright. Now I'm going to let this fully cure since there's no longer anything I can spray. But we got a couple of things coming up that should be interesting. So all I'm going to do is cut out this shape and then curve it around. So for most of this, I'm just going off of feel, right? I don't have a full game plan. Just kind of cutting as close as I can to what I want it to look like and hoping that it works. Luckily foam collapses, so if this isn't quite what I need, I can smush it and make it what I need. Again, this is all just guesswork. I'm just going to keep cutting it until it fits. Or I have to go get a new piece. I am trying to cut it oversized so I have more room to play. If I cut it exact, I got nowhere else to go. That is about perfect. So this has got an extra bead on it. I may cut this here and here so it can slide back a little farther because that would put it about there. And I think I like that much better. It's a bit late in the game to be modifying the design, but yet here we are. So I'm going to cut this real quick. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm just going to put a little glue on the front side here to hold everything down. And then I'm probably going to hot glue the helmet in place. Hot glue is going to be more than enough to hold this thing down. I'm just going to put a couple of drops on this EVA foam. It's one heck of a helmet stand, huh? Alright, so this is Rick's. These get painted red. I'm a little upset. I printed an emblem, and I originally wanted to zinc cast it so it's nice and silver. It fits perfect, except printer error. So I'm going to have to reprint it. But, you know, it is what it is. So right now, we're just going to, just the flats are going to be painted red. And I'm just using some acrylic. I just want a little bit of color. Yeah. Something to pop. So it's not all solid white. I was going to do the insets in black and then these underfeet in black, but I don't think it needs it. I kind of like it exactly how it is. And now we just hot glue this in place, and hot glue is, so there's glue directly under the pad as well, so it's not going anywhere. That's it. The stand itself, I believe, is done, except for this piece, which is printing right now. Here's where we are with this, right? The helmet has a couple of spots that just need a little bit of paint touch-up. Not a big deal. Now we're going to clear coat the whole thing. The stand itself is pretty good. I still may paint these inner spots black just as a separation. This finally printed. Let me find the first time I printed it, the first like 3 times it pulled off the thing because this is so thin. But it finally printed, and I'm pretty happy with that. It goes right in there. That's going to be painted silver. I may touch the top with like a red. I don't know yet. But this, the visor I printed, absolutely hate. So I have some light blue acrylic that's transparent. I'm probably just going to cut a piece out, heat it. I'm using my lightsaber case carrier container thing. It's about the right shape. I am worried about it imparting a little bit of a texture, but I think if I leave the paper on when I heat it, on the back side, that'll mitigate that a bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure this. Measure the current visor, which does fit 9 inches. By 3 inches. So if I go 10 by 3, that should give me ½ an inch all the way around to play with, just in case I'm a little off. Unfortunately, this is only 6 across, so I am going to have to cut a large piece out of this and then waste most of it. I mean, I may make a couple visors out of it then. Hold that thought. $10 by 3. I'm just going to cut it out on the bandsaw, lay everything down, heat it up, and just let it kind of fold over this. And that should make it about the right size. So that's where we're at now. So now I am just going to lightly heat until this bends. I want it about center. That's probably about right. It's a little big, but being acrylic, I should be able to flex it just enough to get it in. It doesn't look that distorted either. Nice. So, just gonna hold it, let it cool off for a couple seconds, and wow, that's hot. And we should be good to go. Now that it has had time to cool, I am just gonna mark it with a Sharpie. I may leave it large like this. I'm probably just gonna do the bottom. I may make this a little more narrow since it's kind of big. And yeah, then I'm gonna use my rotary tool and just cut it out, sand it, and we'll see in a minute. This thing turned out fantastic. I am over the moon with how it turned out better than I had hoped. And I had hoped that it was going to turn out fantastic. So, oh my goodness, it's not perfect. It's got flaws. But I'm so unbelievably happy with this thing. I thought I'd be pleased. I'm Brian. We'll get a couple close-ups and we'll wrap it up after that. Going with a clear plastic instead of the painted one, way better thing. I mean, I couldn't even imagine this with the previous lens. It looks so perfect. The red UN Spacey logo, oh my goodness, that was the way to go. I mean, that's just, I love how that looked. And the little guy inside, oh, that is absolutely perfect. Let me bring you over here to the side. Get a good look at him. And on the foam mat, that's, again, perfect way to go. So I am an artist. And as such, being the guy who made the thing, I see every flaw. Every now and again I can pull myself back and just enjoy it for what it is. And even being able to see all the little bits that I think are a little off, it's perfect. The helmet looks fantastic. The stand is I can't think of anything better than what this is. I am extremely happy with how this turned out. On to other things next week, though. We're always moving on, right? We got a Mando stuff to be working on. If you're interested in that, and you're as excited about this as I am, and you're excited about the other stuff as I am, maybe, you know, do the whole thing. Hope to see you next time.